Welcome to the Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by PkmnTrainerJ. Ingress Insights is a podcast about the Niantic game Ingress. Listen each week for the latest news, updates and rumours. Let us know your thoughts by leaving a voice message or emailing us at the links in the show notes.
Additional intel available.
Hello agents and welcome to episode 47 of the Ingress Insights podcast. In this week's episode we're going with quite a bit of news because I was not here last week. So going through details about the Shard Skirmish that happened, the new Shard Skirmish locations, as well as the name for the Anomaly series for Q4, and a few other bits that have happened, and then be looking at what's coming up in September. First of all though, I have some podcast related news to share, so we'll get into that. For the podcast news, hopefully you will notice that there's a new logo in your podcast feed for Ingress Insights. The previous one I designed in Paint when I first started the podcast back in October, so I've now got a nice fancy one, and as part of that there's now an Ingress Insights merch store which will be in the links, so you can go and buy a mug or anything you like with the Ingress Insights logo on. There's also the previous logo, the Inverse Insights logo, and a list of all the names that Apple Podcasts called me before finally getting it right. I've got a few other merch ideas I'm going to do on there, but in the meantime I'd be very appreciative if you all checked it out, and obviously even more appreciative if you bought anything on there that you think looks decent. So that's just a little update there, but I will mention it again at the end of the show as well. Before I get into the August 31st Shard Skirmish results, it's worth noting there were some cancellations on there. So the Shard Skirmish is scheduled for August 31st in Sasebo and Takamatsu got cancelled. The Ingress team noted this decision was made based on input from local agents and authorities, and no anomaly points were awarded to either faction there. So those were cancelled unfortunately, but there are other Shard Skirmish results that I'll be getting into now. With the Shard Skirmish results from August the 31st, hopefully you've all listened to previous episodes, you know how it goes on here. The Enlightened Shards presented first, then the Resistance Shards, then the Enlightened points, and then the Resistance points. So I'll just cover those briefly. So in Hamilton it was 9 shards for Enlightened, 12 to Resistance, meaning 4.5 points for Enlightened, 6 for Resistance. In Melbourne, Enlightened got 11 shards, Resistance got 4. So 5.5 points to Enlightened, 2 points to Resistance. In Townsville, it was 13 shards to Enlightened and 9 to Resistance. So that means 6.5 points to Enlightened, 4.5 points to Resistance. In Busan, it was 6 shards to Enlightened, 14 to Resistance. So 3 points to Enlightened, 7 to Resistance there. In Gwangju, it was 6 shards again to Enlightened, however the Resistance got 16 shards. So that was 3 points to Enlightened again, but 8 points to Resistance. In Cebu City, it was a bit of an Enlightened sweep, where they got 18 shards and Resistance got 0. So that's 9 points to Enlightened, 0 points to Resistance there. In Chai City, it was 9 points to Enlightened, 9 shards for Enlightened, 14 shards to Resistance, so 4.5 points to Enlightened, 7 points to Resistance. In Kota Kinabalu, it was 3 shards to Enlightened, 9 to Resistance, so 1.5 points to Enlightened, 4.5 to Resistance. In Yilan, it was 19 shards to Enlightened, 1 to Resistance, so 9.5 points to Enlightened, 0.5 to Resistance. In Chiang Mai, it was 6 shards to Enlightened, 4 to Resistance, so 3 points there to Enlightened, 2 to Resistance. In Hanoi, it was almost a Resistance sweep with only 2 shards to Enlightened, 21 shards to Resistance, so 1 point there to Enlightened, however 10.5 points to Resistance. In Malang City in East Java, it was 2 shards to Enlightened versus the Resistance 18 shards, so that was a 1 point to Enlightened versus 9 points to Resistance. In Colombo, it was 19 shards to Enlightened, 3 to Resistance, so 9.5 points to Enlightened, 1.5 to Resistance. In Delhi, it was 14 shards to Enlightened, 4 to Resistance, so 7 points to Enlightened, 2 to Resistance. And in Hyderabad, it was 14 shards to Enlightened, 8 to Resistance, 7 points there to Enlightened, 4 to Resistance. In Pune, it was a total Resistance sweep with 0 shards to Enlightened, 22 shards to Resistance, so 0 points to Enlightened, 11 points to Resistance. In Astana, it was 10 shards to Enlightened, 8 shards to Resistance, so 5 points to Enlightened 4 points resistance. This means it was quite a close shard battle, so the total points for Enlightened were 80.5. However, resistance did win this round and got 83.5 points overall. Sticking with Shard Skirmishes, the ones for the EMEA region also got announced, so those are happening on September the 14th at 4 PM local time. So I'll run through the list that's here, apologies if I get anything incorrect. So there's Sofia in Bulgaria, Varna in Bulgaria, Plzeň in the Czech Republic, Turku in Finland, Nice in France, Bordeaux in France, Batumi in Georgia, Naples in Italy, Dublin in Ireland, Klaipėda in Lithuania, Bergen in Norway, Rzeszów in Poland, Brasov in Romania, Edinburgh in Scotland, Novi Sad in Serbia, Bratislava in Slovakia, Centurion in South Africa, Elche in Spain, and Atlanta in Turkey. Sorry, Antalya in Turkey. That sounds correct. So those are the locations for the Shard Skirmishes, which are the last ones of this Anomaly season. And there'll be 25 pools on which a shard will spawn, marked approximately 40 hours before the event. And there you can earn the Anomaly badge by participating in that. So if you are close to those places or able to travel, I'd encourage you to do that and then be able to earn your badge on there. I think Edinburgh was closest for me, and it's a bit far away for like a week before for me to get to. So unfortunately I'll probably have to wait till the Q4 ones and see what comes up there.
Hey, this is Sim, Global Product Marketing Lead for Peridot, and you're listening to Ingress Insights.
Before I move on from Anomaly news and bits like that, there's a few other little bits left on there. So the August Daily Bounties Challenge ended obviously at the end of August, and there were 140 points split on research days completed. Enlightened got 68.3 of those points, whereas this got 71.7. And then 60 points were also split based on the number of research bounties completed. So Enlightened got 29.3 points there versus Resistance 30.7, so that was pretty close. That means that overall the Resistance captured the Shared Memories Daily Bounties Challenge, so they got 102.4 points for Resistance versus Enlightened's 97.6. I think it was a nice little extra challenge that we had in there and thrown in, so it was enjoyable. Even if my side lost, then still enjoyed it anyway. And then next I'm going to talk about the other friendly competition that was going on with the Field Test Dispatch. Just note, Field Test Dispatch didn't have any bearing on Anomaly points or anything like that. It was basically, like it says, a test and seeing if there was any impact made on there and having the two factions compete. As mentioned, the Field Test Dispatch campaign also included on the 3rd of September, and that was where you completed special bounties to help your faction win, and you get the Field Test medal by either completing 2 or 6 slots of assignments, and the global score for that ended up being 48.53% to Enlightened. However, Resistance won it with 51.47%, and that meant the Resistance completed more bounties and then won the field test. As I mentioned, it's just a standalone thing, so it doesn't impact the Anomaly score, but I think agents really enjoyed it from what I've seen. I think it was useful that people were able to skip a step if they couldn't do scanning or overclock or anything like that, or if they simply didn't want to, didn't have enough missions around. I think that was quite useful, so I'll be eager to see if we get that back either next quarter or next month to see what they do with it and how they tweak it going forwards from there. But I'd love to know everyone else's thoughts on it as well, so you can leave those in comments.
What's up? This is Smooth Guy O, and you listen to the Ingress Insight podcast.
As we are now in September, the Ingress Worldwide Stats Competition, which is a fan-run thing, has started. And during that, from the 1st to the 30th September, it's just a friendly competition to see who's going to be the best in many categories. So you can participate in that using agent stats and see where you rank, whether you get the most kinetic capsules, the most trekker kilometers walked on there. Whatever categories you want to compete in, you can do that. And there are occasionally codes and things that are sent out by Ingress as part of their collaboration with this. However, it's worth noting last year, and I think maybe the year before, there were quite a lot of leaks of the codes going outside of the group. They are just intended for users of that group, so don't use them if you see them around elsewhere. I know the Ingress team have posted one on their Telegram. I've not joined the group yet myself to see if there's any other codes posted in there, but as I said, they usually request you don't share them outside of the Telegram group, so just bear that in mind if you are joining. Before I start to get into discussing things about Q4, I want to mention there was an app update on the 29th of August, so a little while ago now after you're hearing this, where they added a portal keys layer to see on the map to see what portal keys you've got in your inventory. So you tap it to enable, and then you can see all the portals you've got keys for highlighted on there. And if you tap it again, it inverts the layer and shows portals you don't have keys for. You tap it again then to disable it entirely. I think that's quite a useful addition there, especially if you're planning out fields and things like that. You can see what you've not got keys for straight away. And looking around the area, I've used it quite a bit. However, I feel we're now a bit off again now that we've got 5 layers rather than 6. I'm not sure what additional layer we could add on there. But so far, I've used it a fair bit for making fields and stuff. So I think it's been positive. Obviously, there'll always be agents say, why waste time on X when we could be doing Y? But I don't know, the team have their own priorities and know what they're doing most of the time. So if you haven't yet, update to version 2.149.1 from your App Store and Play Stores. Even though I'm saying this now, there's probably an update coming shortly as well that might add new things again. But it's always best to make sure you're up to date on there, on your apps, just in case of any issues that they fix that they don't mention in the update notes. Then on to our final bit of Q3 related news. I just wanted to quickly run through what's coming up this month for September. So on the 7th of September we have First Saturday. Again, that's an agent organised thing where you attend a real life event and go out there and hack portals, meet other agents. It's intended as a initial onboarding for an agent's first real life event as a smaller thing, rather than going straight to an anomaly or something like that. So you can go there, participate in the event, make sure you check in with your organiser, and then you can get a tick on your First Saturday badge. On the 8th of September, the day after, it's Second Sunday, so that's taking place from 12 AM to 11:59 PM local time. For now, for Q3, as it's been for a little while now, you get a tick on the Second Sunday badge by completing any 6 unique Ingress missions, and that will increase by 1 count. On the 14th of September, it's the Shared Memories Shard Skirmish that I talked about previously, and then that's followed on the 21st September by the Shared Memories XM Anomaly, the last one of the season, and that's in Hakodate and Seattle. So you'll be able to obtain the Shared Memories Anomaly medal and influence the overall anomaly score. By attending one of those events in person or attending something like a recharge room, you can help your faction out. And that's about it for Q3 and for September. So now I'll talk about Q4 news that we have.
Hi, this is HP Rulola, and you're listening to the Ingress Insights podcast.
Onwards to Q4 2024 then for Ingress. So the Ingress team shared a Google form about an agent organised marketplace in Tainan, Taiwan for that XM anomaly. In that form, they actually named the Q4 Anomaly series, whether that was a mistake or intentional leak. There was a hashtag with it, so I think it was intentional. They revealed the name of the Q4 Anomaly series is Erased Memories. So I was close with false memories, things like that I said, but I like the name of Erased Memories. And those, just a reminder, they are in Tainan, Taiwan, Valencia, Spain on November the 2nd, 2024. And then the XM anomalies in December are in Christchurch, New Zealand, and Nashville, Tennessee in the US. So that's all our anomalies for the rest of the year. We don't obviously have Q1 anomalies mentioned yet. Those will come up when the Q4 schedule comes out, which will be a little while away yet. We're still early September. But we do also have Q4 mission days I'm going to run through as well. The mission days for Q4, as I mentioned, got announced on September the 6th. So I'll run through those quickly and let you know when those are. So there's 2 on the 5th of October, one in Mechelen in Belgium and one in Muncie in the United States. There's one on the 6th, which is a Sunday in Kandy in Sri Lanka. The 12th of October we've got 3, so there's one in Kawagoe in Japan, one in Sopot, Poland, and one in Guatabe, Colombia, which is a Mission Day Light. That's then followed by one on the 19th of October, which is in Cochabamba, Bolivia. The 3rd of November has the 2 Anomaly mission days, so Tainan to 1, Valencia, Spain. Then we move into the 16th of November. We've got one in Augusta in the United States. Then on to December, we've got one on the 1st in Caserta, Italy. The 7th of December in Laguna Beach in California, United States. Then on the 15th of December, there's 2 Anomaly mission days, as mentioned before. Christchurch, New Zealand, and Nashville, Tennessee. And those are our mission days for Q4, so that ends 2024's events on there, the 15th of December so far that we know. As noted, the Q4 schedule will come out at some point, hopefully with things for Halloween and bits for the Year 12 event in November, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes on there. Before I move on to wrap things up, you may have noticed I've not talked about the Foursquare removals, so they happened in Turkey and every other location that's had those imports. I'm planning to talk through that Foursquare, Swarm, Overture and everything in a future episode and cover that in a bit more detail. So I won't mention it on this one, so don't worry, it was absent. I'm fully aware it happened. I just want to get everything together, talk about, I say, Form, Foursquare a bit more and get that all ready on there for you. So that being said, I will now move in and get us wrapped up. Thank you, agents, for listening to this episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can visit the TeePublic store, which is at teepublic.com/user/ingress-insights. On there, you'll be able to buy t-shirts, mugs, various things with the Ingress Insights logo on. I do have some other merch ideas that I'm looking at, but if you have any ideas or something you'd like to see on that store, please do let me know. You can also follow the podcast on various social media. So we're on Threads under @ingress.insights. Instagram is ingress.insights. Twitter/X, which isn't really used but does have the show go out on it, is Ingress Insights, all one word. And our YouTube is Ingress Insights Podcast, where you may be listening to this right now. But those are all the links where you can find us. But if you have any ideas or anything you want me to talk about on the show, you can always leave a comment on Spotify, or you can email us on ingressinsights@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, agents. Happy hacking. Have a great Sunday.
Intel package transferred.